The following preview has been rated good by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Sunday. In a world on the brink of collapse, 5 young dinosaurs must navigate death, dinosaur racism, and climate change in their search for the land of milk and tree stars. From Don Bluth, the man who brought you basically the same tale but with mice, and the producers of Star Wars and Poltergeist, featuring actors who you'll never hear from again, the Good, the Bad, and the Weird reviews, The Land Before Time.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I feel our intros are now perfect.
I agree.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Yeah, are you ready for Nostalgia Lane?
Oh yes, I've been wanting to talk about this movie for a bit.
It's one of those weird ones because it really does like have a spot in our entire generation's heart.
Yeah.
Even though like I would argue most people would not call it a favorite.
Well, and not even just our generation, but I think at least to the extension, the generation under us who weren't like my brother and grew up overseas for the most part.
Yes. I feel like a lot of us made everyone else watch it too.
Yeah, I feel everyone that I've known who's now about like 25, 26 range, there's a good half decade where people remember this franchise quite well.
And I think we're about to reach the era of being forced to watch shit again because we are now parents, age, and our friends are now parents.
We are honorary aunts and uncles.
Exactly, and god damn it, I'm gonna make those kids watch this movie. They're gonna cry with me, damn it.
They're gonna stumble upon some questionable things.
They will. This one, though, yeah, there's parts. It could be better at times, but boy, it's still solid.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean,
it's kind of solid in the same way where, like, I'm gonna make my, like, friends' kids, I'm gonna make them watch Labyrinth. Is Labyrinth appropriate for them? No. But I don't care. We're gonna stare the Goblin King's crotch, damn it.
Okay, so I mentioned a little bit in the main episode, but, like, Labyrinth was one of those movies I didn't watch till I was an adult.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
But, much like this one, it is aimed at children. Yeah. And because it was aimed at children and I watched it as a child and now have an affection for this movie, I'm gonna make other people do it too.
And I forgot to bring it up. Speaking of dark kids movies, The Never-Ending Story.
I'm also gonna make them watch that.
Yeah. The only thing I think is gonna have an issue in bringing it to a younger audience is just the animation. Especially nowadays with everything being so clean and like kids getting so much more used to like the CGI movies.
I would agree to some extent. I think by the time that kids are like at the age where it's appropriate to watch this, because this is kind of scary at times.
Yeah.
We got a dead mom. We got a very spooky sharp tooth who coming to chomp on you. Like, so once we hit that age, they'll have discovered YouTube.
Yeah.
And once you reach YouTube animation levels, the sky's the limit on what you'll watch.
Yeah, now that you think about that, I mean, I'm watching this Japanese show called Yamabashi. I think that's how you say it. And it's styled like an old style, like, screen animation, like kind of how they did Spirit Tracks.
Exactly.
It's that type of animation, that type of storytelling. And it is off-putting at first, but once you get used to it, okay, yeah, ignore that entire last minute of ranting, I guess.
But no, I think you have a good point, because I think people like our generation, we do look very hard at, like, especially clay animation and animation in general. We do critically look at those things, and, like, a lot of people bitch and complain when you can see the pencil lines, when the eyes aren't going the right way. And, like, our generation, our age of people, we will hold that against a movie pretty hard. As kids, though, like, let's be real, even though we weren't the generation, we all watched the stupid Lord of the Rings animated version, and none of us cared worth a shit that nobody's eyes were looking the right way.
True.
But now that you're an adult, it bothers the shit out of you.
Yeah, and I think it's just looking at it with a little bit more clarity and detail than just, like, kids who focus on, like, one little aspect and, like, that's the thing they're following.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna make children of the future watch this once they're old enough. But this is gonna be one of those interesting ones where, like, I have no doubt that, like, the friend group we're in, those kids will, like, not be banned from watching this.
No.
But I will be guilty as hell making them watch this, because this movie does have a lot of, like, hard-hitting points.
Yeah, and, I mean, we touch on it a bit of, like, just how relatively mature this movie is, while also being tame at times.
I mean, it's got a G rating for a reason, but at the same time, like, all of the aspects are there for it to be a deep movie, and, like, it's not, like, shying away from those. No. It's just handling them in a G-rated way.
Yeah, which is, it's an interesting thing, because I feel, at least from what I've seen and heard about the new Disney movies, is they don't really touch the hard-hitting stuff as...
They do it in a very different way.
Yeah.
This one's focused on experiencing this world through Littlefoot. And, like, Littlefoot's not a perfect character. And so, like, you have those imbalances and you have those big emotions that go with being a young person dealing with loss and change and friends. Whereas I think a lot of the newer Disney stuff, we're not aimed at this same age range. We're aimed a little higher. And so we are able to broadly hit a different style of the topic. So if we're going to talk about family, we can talk about it from the eyes of someone older.
Well, I think you actually do bring up a really good point with that, because Disney nowadays isn't just aiming for isn't aiming for a just a kids audience. They're aiming for an all ages audience.
They really are.
Whereas Land Before Time was definitely aimed at a kids movie, and that's the thing, because you brought it up a little bit, that there's a part where it's a movie. Movies are aimed towards kids, but you have to have bits that entertain parents.
Yes.
And The Land Before Time really doesn't have that.
No, it really doesn't. But that's why this one works, is because this movie was made for kids, but in, like, an Aesop's Fable sort of way.
Yeah.
Where, like, it's there to teach multiple lessons simultaneously in a well-done, well-constructed way. It's there to be a storyteller, as opposed to just entertainment.
Yeah, it and that way it falls in along with a lot of, like, Grimm's fairy tales and whatnot.
Exactly, and I think that's why, yeah, the newer Disney stuff it's good. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. But a lot of it is aimed at higher age range. Like, I think a lot of Pixar and Disney is aiming higher towards 10 to 12-year-olds right now.
Yeah.
I would argue that Land Before Time is really aimed closer to that 5 to 7, 8-year-old range.
Yeah, because...
Like, once you understand what a dinosaur is, like, that's who this is for.
Yeah. Because isn't Turning Red basically, like, a period movie?
It's a becoming a woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I brought it up to, I compared it to, maybe it was you. I compared it, like, it's Disney's Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, there's definitely a place for that, because when we were growing up, we didn't have those movies. You kind of went straight from, like, Land Before Time, like, straight into Gremlins. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of, like, transition.
No.
Especially for animation.
Yeah.
And so I'm not upset that the new stuff is for an older kid. It's hella fun. And, like, they're doing new stuff that this era of film wouldn't have been able to touch. But damn it, I still feel like this has a place. This still has lessons that are good to learn. And, like, some of the lessons aren't necessarily going to be what the movie was trying to teach. But it's still, like, it's still very relevant.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I don't want to go too far into it.
No.
I mean, I think we do a pretty good job of going into the issues with the movie, and not just the issues the movie talks about, but our issues with it as we've gotten older.
Because it's not a perfect movie.
No, it's definitely of its time at times. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but anywho, this has been the good, the bad, and the weird previews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.